This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the Suzanne Morphew homicide case and the Colorado District Attorney who was in charge of prosecuting Morphew's husband. District Attorney Linda Stanley is facing a disciplinary hearing right now and possible disbarment for allegedly mishandling the case. Wife and mother Suzanne Morphew vanished in 2020 after going out for a bike ride. Her husband Barry arrested a year later after pleading for his wife's return.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you.
But charges against Barry Morphew were ultimately dismissed. The district attorney, Stanley, now being called an absent leader who failed to steer the case and let it crash. Morphew's remains found in September. An autopsy labeled her death as a homicide, but says she died by undetermined means. No arrests have been made, and there is the potential for Barry Morphew to still be charged. So let's talk about where things stand with District Attorney Linda Stanley. We have a very special guest we're so happy to have back on the show. We haven't seen him in far too long. A former district attorney in the state of Colorado. He's also a law professor, did some very high-profile cases, the Aurora Theater shooting case, the STEM case, the Columbine cases. He's also a member of our military. We're happy to have the brilliant George Brockler back on Opening Statements. Good morning, my friend. Nice to see you.
It is so magical to be back here, Julie. Thanks for putting me back on.
Oh, of course. We missed you. You were busy. You were doing radio shows at the same time and all that stuff. So, George, Linda Stanley, let's get to it here. What do you think of this? Does this have merit, this allegation that she should be disbarred from mishandling the case?
Well, it does. I think that folks ought to know there are three buckets of things that are going on here that are going to be litigated, and they're taking place this week and next week at the Attorney Regulation Council hearing. It's a public hearing, but there's three things going on here. One, Linda engaged in a considerable amount of pretrial publicity, and there are rules out there, Julie. I know you know them. They exist in just about every state. They're called ethical rules, rules of professional conduct. 3.6 and 3.8 are the ones that are applicable here, and the gist of them is this. If you're going to point your finger at someone in the community and drag them into the courtroom and give them their right under the Sixth Amendment to a jury trial, you can't poison the well. You can't start talking about the case and talking about them in a way that would make it difficult to prosecute. In fact, she had done it so much with a podcaster and I think another woman who'd had a YouTube or cable channel that the original judge on the case moved the jurisdiction out of the county in which the crime occurred, finding that there had been substantial prejudice to the defendant. That's one big bucket. The other bucket is this thing was mismanaged from an expert disclosure standpoint. And folks ought to know that, you know, when the prosecution brings evidence forward, they've got to give that evidence over to the defense. That's the only way this system works, that's the only way to make it fair. And they had failed on multiple occasions to turn over expert reports, expert resumes, the kinds of stuff that you would associate with just about any criminal case. Judge then sanctioned them by starting to remove those experts. That is very rare. It is rare that you would screw up so much a judge would say, now you don't get to use that evidence in your case. And then the third thing is, and this is the most egregious, Julie, is that after having certain rulings against them by the judge that was ultimately assigned to this case, they got together with Linda Stanley's leadership on this piece alone and said, let's go investigate him for domestic violence. And they reached out to his ex-wife and started a conversation about, hey, was this guy abusive? I've never seen anything like this with the judge before.
Oh my, George, thank you for all of that. This is bad. This is bad. We'll see what happens as this hearing progresses. In the meantime, the case involving Suzanne Morphew is still outstanding. Your thoughts on whether we're going to see Barry Morphew recharged?
You know, that's a good one. It's a great question. The big event that took place here within the last year or so, it was the discovery of Suzanne's body. That's a big deal because in no body cases you've covered many times, very, very challenging when you're trying to go after first-degree murder, and that's what took place here. I think the good news for the opportunity to get to justice on this case is that because of where the body was found versus where we think the crime was probably committed, And all of this stuff going on with Linda Stanley, the DA changed. It's now in the 12th Judicial District, which is next door to the 11th Judicial District, and they'll be handling this case. You know, my advice had been, not to them, no one had solicited my advice, but my advice had been, listen, given everything that's gone on here, do yourselves a favor, impanel a grand jury and slow roll this thing. There's no statute of limitations for first-degree murder. It's been done wrong so far up to this point. Let's give it a chance to do it right and try to get justice for her.